This episode of SpectreSoundStudios is brought to you by ProMix Academy. Hey everybody, it's Friday. That means it's time for SMG Viewers Comments, my weekly show where I take a look at the best comments and questions of the week and try to answer them to the best of my ability. Let's get right to it.
Hey Glenn, love your channel. I wanted to know if you feel that the bar has been lowered because everybody that has Logic and a Mac considers themselves an engineer, musician, programmer. Cheers from West Manhattan.
Holy crap, I finally figured out what that means. That's Lower East Side. Great. Okay, I've actually been there. Nice neighborhood. Anyway, to answer your question, yes, the bar has been lowered quite a bit. The bar was lowered, 10 years ago when Paris Hilton put a record out. But man, has it gotten really bad now. Yes, now you can make the same shitty music that you hear on the radio in the comfort of your own home. All you need is some drum samples and some pitch correction. No talent required. Fortunately, in metal, there are some guys still making some pretty cool records. My buddy Lasse Lammert in Germany comes to mind. Of course, Andy Sneap. There's a bunch of good stuff being made still, don't get me wrong. And I think the fact that a lot of people can make records in their own home is phenomenal. I think the democratization of music recording technology has been fantastic. But I'd like to see people push their own personal production envelopes as well.
Hey Glenn, I recently acquired myself a friend that comes to my studio to just jam, try to write a song. How do I tell the idiot to go home and write on his free time and that my studio is for recording a good performance? Also, what's the deal with this 432 hertz junk?
Okay, go get your friend and make him watch this part. Hey asshole, stop wasting studio time! There, does that work? I hope that helps. And yes, the 432 hertz thing is total nonsense, just like religion.
How much experience should I have before starting a band?
Hey Ted, that's a fantastic question. I started a band when I was 17 and I was fucking terrible, and I listened to tapes of that and I just cringe, but we all have to start somewhere. Don't forget, we're all gonna be terrible when we first start out, so hey, might as well start a band and be terrible with a bunch of other guys. You're only gonna get better.
Thank you. I am a typical Indian. Some of us are not that economically developed and buying gear is difficult. You have inspired and educated your audience to get the best out of what they already have. Undoubtedly, a lot of people have benefited from this. Please keep your videos coming. They are very educational and help a lot. I like both the calm and pissed off version of you, and forgive my language, I am not good at English.
Kamal, thank you so much for writing. Messages like that really do make my day. I think it's phenomenal that there's this rampaging metal scene going on in India right now. That's spectacular, and you guys are truly inspiring. Just watching what's going on there. And yes, I will keep the bang for the buck videos going because I think that's super important, because I know not everybody all over the place has a lot of money to spend. So yes, I will do what I can. And yeah, you guys in India who are playing metal, keep doing what you're doing. You guys are awesome.
Have you ever recorded a tape? If so, how do you go about doing it?
What a great question. Okay, first you're going to need a crap ton of money because it's about $350, $400 these days for a reel of tape that lasts, 15 or 30 minutes? I can't remember. It's been a while. But yes, I've recorded to tape, and there's a couple very interesting points you need to remember. Number one, there is no undo button. You need to get it right. So you have to play great or your record is going to suck. There's just no way around it. Of course, you can record a tape and then transfer to digital and fix it there, but that kind of kills the whole point of it. Tape is a very expensive way of doing things. Yes, it has a certain vibe to it, and there's a certain looseness to it, and there was a reason why not everybody got signed to record deals back in the day, because bands had to be able to really fucking play to be able to pull it off. These days, yeah, you can just pull it up in your DAW of choice and edit the living shit out of it and make it sound passable. But back in the day, boy, yeah, the bands really had to be able to kick ass. Go put on Queen's Night at the Opera if you need verification of that.
Hey Glenn, how do you go about tuning drums? Do you tune them to the key of the songs? Do you make sure that there are specific intervals between toms and the snare, etc.?
Okay, tuning drums is kind of like learning an instrument in its own right. In 20 years of recording drums, I maybe 3 or 4 drummers who could really do it. I use a drum dial. That's a fantastic way of working. I actually use, for the toms, I use one set of values and just go across the toms. I just make sure the toms have a 2-inch difference between the different drums, 10-inch, 12-inch, 14-inch, 16-inch. That way, if you tune the head to the same value, they will go down in pitch. That system's worked out pretty well so far. Definitely get a drum dial. It's a fantastic way to start, and it's something I still use all the time.
I started using YouTube Red, and I was wondering if creators receive more revenue from that or from viewers letting conventional advertisements play out.
I really don't know. Tell you what, guys, why don't you let the conventional advertisements play out, and I'll let you know next week.
You're always so straightforward and a badass towards things. It makes me happy to see you address this. People that don't deal with this sort of thing are usually just like, quit being a pussy or something like that. Thank you so much, Glenn. I needed to hear this today, especially from you.
What Gerald is talking about there was my how to deal with crushing self-doubt video. And like I said, creative people go through that kind of stuff all the time. And it's something I've dealt with over the years. And I just wanted to make that very clear. If you're feeling down or you're feeling stuck and you don't know what to do and you're thinking about quitting, don't. There is light at the end of the tunnel. I've been there, I've done it, and I've worked through it. Trick is you just got to persevere. And for you bass players, the trick is to bang the rocks together, guys. Hey guys, just want to take a quick second here to tell you about the Ultimate Rock Mixing Bundle. It is 9 lessons at a serious discount. There's a Motorhead lesson in there, there's a Galacticon lesson in there, and there's 2 lessons from me as well. It's hours and hours and hours of video lessons on mixing and production and editing and all that kind of cool stuff. And if you want to get your hands on it, you can get it for one low price. Check the link in the description below. Now back to the show.
Hi Glenn, what do you think about the sounds and styles of recording for records produced in the 60s and now, even the 50s and 70s and on? Love your videos, and you seem a top-notch bloke who stands up for his mates. Also, in regards to your fears of your logo causing a breakdown on your channel, maybe you could just host a giveaway contest so you can come up with the best simple logo.
Hey William, I was just kind of joking about that. So far, nobody's really bitched about the logo, so we'll keep it as it is because I'm pretty well branded with that, but thanks for your concern. As for recording styles, I can't say I'm a huge fan of the sound of the 50s. The 60s, the technology started getting there, but I think recording technology really hit its stride. And, from about 74 to about 85, 86, we hit a real golden period. And a lot of the records that came out in that era are just sonically incredible. Go Put On British Steel or Peace of Mind, or as the aforementioned Night at the Opera. There's just some spectacular sounding records there. If you've never experienced this before, go to a used record store. Go pick up something from the mid-70s to mid-80s, put it on a turntable, throw on a set of headphones, and just let the music take you away. If you haven't experienced that, I highly recommend doing that. Again, Night at the Opera or even Sad Wings of Destiny is a great way to get into a whole different experience with music.
When I worked at Steve's on Queen West in Toronto in the 90s, we sold all the big studios Mogami, Canadian top-notch cable. Why don't you use Mogami?
Because it was super expensive. I found this stuff from the Sound Room down in Maine. I think it's called StarTech. And Skywalker Sound uses it for their live rig. And you know what? If it's good enough for George Lucas, I think it's going to be good enough for me. It's worked out pretty well, but the interior wiring in here is going to be redone with Hosa Cable because they've been a huge supporter of the show. And I got something super cool coming up that I'm doing with Ward Beck, and that's using QTP. That's Quad Twisted Pair Cable, and that's where we use Cat5 network cable for audio. What the hell is that all about? That's going to be definitely worth checking out. You guys are seriously going to want to see that episode. Stay tuned.
Glenn, have you ever had an experience with a band that the bassist was the best musician? Thanks for all the great content.
Yeah, it's happened a few times. I had Final Stage come in, and Josh, the bass player, was definitely the best musician in that band. It's rare, but it does happen, and it's always a pleasure because I think bass is super, super, super important, especially in heavy rock and metal, and nobody nearly gives it enough importance that it deserves. So yeah, when you get a great bass player, that just makes the record so much easier. And when the bassist is the best musician of the band, you know what? You're going to have an easy time as an engineer.
Hey Glenn, I'm profoundly deaf and can only hear through a cochlear implant. I was a musician before needing the implant and continue to be now, refusing to take my own impairment as no I can't. I have my own home studio and would appreciate any advice on how to overcome my disability and make music like my hero Beethoven did. Thanks!
Hey Dale, that's totally fucking inspiring, dude. Like, holy shit, that's really something else. I'm kind of afraid to ask how you lost your hearing. The fact that you're gonna do it with a cochlear implant is fucking amazing. Now, I know next to nothing about cochlear implant technology, so unfortunately, I'm not the right guy to give advice, but I'd ask if anybody else is watching this episode who knows something about that and maybe how somebody using one of those can cope, please leave a comment below because I'm just fascinated by this, and I think we can all tend to learn something from it.
Important gear question. Yes, I know caps lock makes me look like a typical 20 amp sims per song guitar player, but this is not a piece of gear you can find info about. A lot of us in Europe use gear made for the US market. A few years ago, I got a Mesa Boogie 5050, a really cool power amp. I've used it with a shitty transformer voltage converter I got from a previous user. Time to upgrade. Do you know of any reliable brands of power converters? I need to get one that converts 230 volts to 110 volts.
Damn fine question. Unfortunately, I don't live in Germany, so I've never actually really had to deal with that sort of thing. But I would ask any of my fans in England or Germany or anyone elsewhere else in Europe who uses American gear, if you have a particular favorite brand of power converter, please let us know in the comments. Again, this is something we could all learn here. I'd really appreciate it. Thanks.
Hey Glenn, after years and years of continuous search, I've just recently been able to find my own personal sound, but it's not there yet. What equipment do you use to record your guitar? It's close to what I'm wanting.
Well, that depends. The theme song, The Eagle Has Landed, was done with a 5150, a Mesa Cab, an SM57, and a Schecter Hellraiser with EMG 81s. I know EMGs are a bit taboo these days. I have no idea. I've always really dug those pickups, but hey, what are you going to do? These days, I'm using a mixture of rev cabinets and amplifiers, and I'm doing that Ulrich Wild blended mic thing with the cheap Behringer mixer that seems to be working out just spectacularly well. If you need a little more info on that, please check out the video called The Greatest Guitar Recording Trick I've Ever Learned. All right, that's it for this episode. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to grab the Ultimate Rock Mixing Bundle, 9 lessons for a serious discount. Until next time, ha så digga, boy.